here in Kuwait, there's no Teslas.
I know. I mean, there's still quite a lot of countries where you can't get them, right? And it's a shame. But it is one of those moments when landline to mobile phones, and then from heavy utilitarian mobile phones to smartphones. Same with computers, right? I grew up, we had what we call in France the Minitel, which was, I mean, you have no idea. It was making beep, 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 beep every time it connected. And it was a crazy story. And there we are. So when you look back after a couple of decades, you realize there were some key moments where technology and changes just happened decisively, right? Where you just know, okay, this was a chapter, it's over, and there's a new chapter. And while I had 6 years of EV experience, even with that one test drive was just it. You just realized, my gosh, this is a computer on wheels. Sure enough, it's an EV, but there's so much more to it, and this will change, and we just have to sit it out. And I just said, you know what? I mean, I don't need money for the next 12 years. I'm still working. I'm having a day job. I love what I'm doing. So this is really for my retirement. 12 years, this company is gonna, and I had no clue about anything else. This was just about the car, and the car going to change car industry forever. Obviously, this has been 3 years now, so I've been learning much more about Tesla, and I'm even more convinced today. This daily and weekly and monthly noise that we all comment on is nothing else than noise. We just have to, from time to time, get back to that March 2020 conviction, because that's what's really all about.
The problem is with Kuwait, and I've met someone here who actually has a Tesla, and he told me if you're fueling from, like, let's say from empty to full, it's about $20. The same amount where you supercharging network as back in Canada, when you go from empty to full or 0 to 100%, it's around $20, which is still good. But he told me that when he uses his supercharger, or when he just uses a regular charger, it's about like 50 cents, 60 cents here.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, but that goes back and like, wait a minute. So if that's low, and the government here is relying 60% of their entire GDP on oil, he said that Tesla coming to Kuwait is almost nearly an impossible thing because of regulation with the government and all this. And I'm just like, but like, once you have a superior product and everyone's moving towards there. I mean, if you go to Dubai right now, 30 to 40% of all vehicles are all Teslas.
And they're so much in advance. I always think that Dubai wants to be the first country to have full self-drive, just to have the crown for that. I'm convinced about that, just because I think they just want to show the whole world, you can't get it done, you're so overregulated, but we can do it. And can you just imagine what a situation it will be for Kuwait, looking at Dubai, where there will be all these Tesla self-driving, and they're still like, no, we want our gas stations.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I've been looking to see how I could get one here in Kuwait, but because I'm an expat here, we're not allowed to import cars. Yeah, everything's so complicated, and you know very well. So it's like I have to like order it, and then I would have to get a sponsor or a local here to have it under their name, and then for them to import it, and then if something goes wrong with the vehicle, I have to export it back to UAE. So it's like, is that really practical at the moment? Yeah. So
crazy, right?
I don't know. Gotta see what can be done. Let's see what happens on Friday when I talk to him.
Move out of Kuwait. Get easier.
Oh, that's true. Actually, I'm coming back to Toronto on end of July, in 2 weeks' time, actually. And I rented a Model Y for the first few days, and then I rented it out a Model 3. First time driving in these. I've never sat in a Model 3 or Model Y. Let's see if I can try to get an X as well.
We have an X now. So we started off with a Model 3. The Model 3 was still a lease for 45,000 miles, which was supposed to last 3 years. With my kids enjoying the Tesla, it lasted 2 years. So we changed that to another Model 3 in 2022. Just the difference between the two Model 3s from 2020 to 2022, incredible. Both long range. So you should have just expected the same thing. And when I hear people say, yeah, we buy and the software updates, perfect. And obviously Teslas last much more, but there is still so much improvement in the hardware as well. Because we only had 2-year lease on that one, where we changed it to an X. That's why I'm telling you this whole story. And the X is the love of my life. I have 2 Cybertruck reservations because I want to actually, I want to move to Vegas and run them as robotaxis. That's the plan. So I'm not in a hurry to get them, but I think they would make perfect robotaxis in Vegas.
So let me
And
ask you this. What
mhm.
are the reservation numbers for those Cybertrucks?
Oh, I can look those up. First one is they both start with 114, and then the
Before.
lower one is then 198, and then 3 numbers, and the other one is 756. So the 198 is actually quite low down, so I have some hope.
Wow. Okay. So
That's quite
okay.
early, right?
If that's pretty early. Yeah. I mean, you should probably
Mm.
get it if they start ramping production. You should probably get it by 26, 27.
Yeah, and which is good. By then I'll live in Vegas, and then I hope robotaxi is up and running by then, and I can run them. And I'd love that.
That's gonna be exciting. That's actually pretty cool. So you have two Cybertruck, but ah, I've always wanted to try the X, but I could.
It's, you know what it is?
What?
It is giving you a absolute perfect safe space. I get into this
Really?
car, I'm comfortable, it's not over decorated or whatever. It has the simplicity of any Tesla, but you are sitting in an upright, very comfortable position. The volume is perfect, the tech is perfect, the sound is perfect, the aircon is perfect. I'm in there and I could drive forever. I have FSD now on it. I'm This is my safe space. This is my moment, really, where I can let go. No job, no kids, no nothing. Just being in my car. It's the best car ever. And I've had
Wow.
Mercedeses, I've had Porsches, I've had very high end
Yeah. Yeah.
luxury
Oh
cars.
yeah.
I'm a very spoiled brat, and nothing compares even close
Yeah.
to
You
it.
can't. I realized after testing the Model S, you can't compare the Tesla to anything.
No
You
going
just
back.
can't.
No way.
You can't.
Exactly.
It's something else. It's since you have FSD on your Model X, how close is it to being like I guess you could say level 4 or level 5 or near completion. I
Mm.
don't know the right
Well,
terms for it.
I actually don't like at all reasoning in levels, because I think Tesla will stay for a long, long time level 2, and I want them to be. I mean, it is a little bit ridiculous because they sell it at FSD, yet level 2 clearly says that the driver is still in charge of everything. But I think it's actually the smartest thing they could do. So the robotaxi, in my projections, is 2027 and onwards. It doesn't really matter to what I expect of the Tesla share price for that. But what I do believe is that we are going to be comfortably sitting behind the steering wheel and doing not much more anymore. Probably not even nagging the steering wheel anymore very soon. Maybe even by the end of this year. So let me explain. I have the monthly subscription because, as I told you, I'm leasing the cars, and I tried middle of last year, the $200 subscription for a month. It was choppy, to say the least, because I had obviously autopilot, so I was used to using it on the freeways, but in city it was still very choppy, so I didn't take it then. Then a couple of weeks ago, we had Ross Gerber, the No Doubt episode in Santa Barbara, where I then stepped up and tried it there as well. Made people come who had the same FSD version, which is 11.4.4. So I experienced in other people's cars with them trying this out that 11.4.4 was just getting very close to that full self-drive experience.
Wow. So when do you think they will it'll come to a point where they will say that, okay, now you could drive the thing with FSD and not pay too much attention because the thing can drive better than you, and pretty much reaching completion? When do you think
You mean
this will happen?
version 12? I think improvements, and it's actually a fun exercise for me being in my X, having this 11.3.6, which is a 6-month-old version, compared to what the others have already on the 11.4.4. You see how much it already improved between those two versions. So I do believe there is still some work to be done, and it will be, even in version 12, which is not beta anymore, there will be work to be done, just because when you roll it out, more edge cases will appear. People will be
That's
in
true.
corners of the world that haven't been tested yet. The neural network has to constantly learn by the feed of new data. It's all good if I drive always the same street in Santa Barbara, but there is no learning experience by rolling in the same street with the same issue. Once it's solved, but it has to solve other issues at other spots. So the one moment I really am looking forward to is when everybody has a free month of trial of FSD, because I think Tesla will do that when it is instantly the best version. So not the situation I'm currently in, that I'm paying $200, but for something that I have to still wait for the latest update, but where they are in a capacity to give everybody this free month with a version where they are very confident that people will be blown away and then pay for it, and then pay the $200. And that moment I expect to come end of this year, beginning of next year.
Wow, that's so soon. If that happens, would it be just the US alone, or would it be like all of North America kind of thing, and maybe some parts of Europe?
Well, I don't know whether it will be all of America already, because I do believe there are some states that are still, hesitant. So probably the clever decision is leave it level 2, make it as perfect as possible on level 2, let it settle, work with Dubai and other countries, and maybe even Florida and Vegas and California, who are very much pro FSD, and then slowly increase it in those areas until it's just so blatantly evident that there is less death on the roads, less accidents, less everything, that everybody else just has to give in. I think you have to convince with stats, and more stats you have from all over the corners of the world, easier it's going to be.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And do you think licensing could actually happen with Tesla if they solve
that? Sure, they have no chance. I mean, do you think they really wanted to plug into the supercharger network? They were throwing up for nights before they had to announce it. They hated every second of it.
So then, if that's the case, how would Tesla license it out to other vehicles? So 2 questions. One, how would they do it? When me and Oracle were talking, we came with a solution that maybe what they do is that they would sell it the same monthly subscription cost to the other automakers, and they get to mark it up another 100 or whatever for them to make money. That's one way. But I want to know your thoughts on this. And then the second question is, don't the other vehicles have to have the same cameras and the same software?
Sure. So let me answer the second part first, and then I come to my imaginary licensing model. It will be the tablet, it will be everything that feeds into the tablet that is not currently available. So yes, it will be the cameras, a mix of both hard and software. But the car would still look like a Volkswagen, or the car would still look like a Toyota. It would only have the soft part, including those few hardware parts that are coming from Tesla. And Tesla would have the data, the access to the data. Can you imagine? Because that means Tesla would have access to the whole worldwide fleet of car data.
Yeah.
That's just incredible. And so the question is, how would they sell it? Well, there are a couple of models. I don't think it will be on a monthly basis. I think it will be on a revenue share basis, meaning, let's say Toyota sells their car for 35,000. Global volume of those cars, 20%, or let's go back to the Apple prices, 30% the initial years and 15% the other years of the margin will be Tesla's. Because without that, and I mean, Tesla is hijacking them if that happens. Because without Tesla, those cars will not start next morning, right?
That's true.
It will be just incredible how this will fold out. And that's, again, I'm coming back to what I said earlier. What the heck about today's stock price? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just coming. Now, will there be alternative solutions? Yes, there will be. I think mobile has a chance, whatever. I think they are all hoping that there will be an Android of the system. But the question is, will that Android solution be profitable, viable, as integrated? Because the big advantage of Tesla, other than 10,000 other advantages, is how integrated it is, right? How this one platform happens to work with hardware 3, soon hardware 4, in such an integrated manner that you don't need all these other part and service providers to be added anymore. Why does Tesla less talk about robotaxi and more about FSD? Right? Because there are 2 different subjects and 2 different revenue streams. And I actually think that they are in no hurry whatsoever to roll out robotaxis, because that is going to be a reserved product for Teslas only, and maybe even only for Tesla fleets and some early owners who got it while it was available. a little bit like those things that you get just for a while and then you don't get it anymore because then it becomes proprietary.
Yes.
So I do believe there is a possibility. I can't give you a probability for that yet. And again, only speculating in that sense that whatever they license to the others, but level 4, level 5 robotaxi solution will be Tesla owned.
It kind of blows my mind when I think about it like that. I'm just like, well, that's
It's
why I'm
huge,
all
right?
in on Tesla stock. That's why we're all in on Tesla stock, because the potential of this company is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Now, people always ask me, my kids ask me, say, why in the world do you spend so much time on this company? Why do you talk on YouTube? Why are you so much on Twitter? But it's just because, if you see it and if you have certain things on which you're certain, others that you want to speculate, you want to talk to people who have the same thoughts and who challenge your thoughts and who tell, probably not like that, but maybe like that. And there's nothing more passionate currently in my life that another subject that I could get so involved with, because there's so much to unpack with Tesla.
That's true. And I've always been curious to know that if we go back to, I think it was 2008 or 9, where Apple unveiled the iPhone. Do you think if we had the amount of social media presence as we have now back then, do you think it'll be this like similar situation but with Apple? I want to know your thoughts on this.
I was less of an Apple girl. It was a period in my life where I wasn't in the financial markets, and I was a BlackBerry girl. I mean, for a long time, I stuck to that stupid keyboard. And which actually gives me also this feeling that yes, we will still have normal ICE cars for a while, right? I was able to stick to my BlackBerry phone for 10 more years than anybody else because that was just, my way of doing it. Am I proud of it? Not at all, but it just, people need different times to adapt to it. So I think Tesla's iPhone moment was the Model Y, right? Model Y is today the most sold car in the world and absolutely optimized in production cost, in look, in everything. I mean, the car is genius. Again, I love my Model X, and it costs twice the price of a Model Y. Is it worth twice? Well, to me it is, because I'm a spoiled brat. But in reality, it's not. The Model Y is unbeatable value for money. So I think we had our iPhone moment. Cybertruck, maybe our iPad moment. Something different, more edgy. But I do believe Apple stopped innovating then. I mean, earbuds and whatever else is accessory compared to the potential Tesla has, right? The bots, FSD, whatever we named it, is so much bigger than what Apple came up with afterwards. So I don't really like comparing Apple and Tesla, other than for the sector that Apple, with having, what do they have? 25% of the revenue market share, yet nearly 90% of the profits of the phone market, of the smartphone market. So I think that is where we will also get with Tesla. We may not have more than 20 or 30 or 25% of the cars out there being Tesla, which is already horrendous because nobody ever had so much, but we will have the largest part of money coming.
When that happens, do you think Tesla at that point will be doing dividends? Because we know for sure we're going to get a buyback. If not this year, it has to be in the next couple of years or so. It's coming. Buyback for sure. I'm convinced that it's going to happen. But dividends is something that Elon said that it's never going to happen. It's a waste of money. So what's your thoughts on this?
I actually think it depends much more on our largest shareholder, who is Elon. So I do believe Elon will step back from being CEO of Tesla sooner than you think. Maybe 2028. Very difficult, obviously, to speculate on that. Why? Because I think what he's building up with Tesla will be done. Everything can be optimized, but in terms of innovation, the point where other car makers will license FSD will be where we want it. Robotaxi in the fleet will be up. That's all, and the bots will be there. So that's all then there. Now, the big project beyond all is obviously Mars. So if he wants to go to Mars, or if this becomes much more tangible, he needs to, and I think that's already in preparation, he needs to have the CEO of Tesla in place. What we saw at Investor Day in March this year was very impressive. That deep bench of 16 people shows that we have now in all segments the right people there, and they are working in good harmony and with the right goals. Getting costs down is crucial. They're working on that. So on many subjects, I think they're preparing for that moment. moment. And then, and you're right, we will see buybacks before that. I don't think we'll see buybacks in 2023 and 2024 yet, just because the expansion is so much. I think we'll see many, many mega factories for the energy production all over the world. We will see at least 3 more gigas coming up. So there's good way of spending money. I love buybacks for the share price, but I do believe at the moment there are other priorities. But we'll see share buybacks. We will see dividends 2 years after Elon has left his position, because he's not leaving until it's stable. And once he's stable, give it another year or two to really make sure we're having the revenues we want. And I think we'll see dividends then. So my best guess is 2030. It's not a dividend stock. People shouldn't be in Tesla for a dividend.
How do you think Tesla's going to look like in the 2030s?
My prediction is, compared to now, we're way above $10,000. We'll have obviously splits in the meantime. It won't be a $10,000 price, but it will be 40 times of where we are now. Now, is it 2030? Is it 2032? I don't know. But I really believe we are going to see the next 2 or 3 years already a sensible increase in the price, just by more awareness, understanding of what vision AI brings, and who is the leader. Who is the leader there? But it's not as if there is no competitor, but I don't see any competitor becoming competitive in a short term, because the homework they have to do is just getting longer every day, and they're not catching up. They're actually falling back. So you just wonder where this competition should really come from, and how they will be able to have products and services that are going to be attractive to the consumers. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you're saying by 2030, the stock price at the current moment could be over 10,000.
Yeah, I think it will be 40 to 50x in 10 years. That's why that's why I can't even. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy. So then, if the company is going to be, let's say, around like 40 to 50x from what it is now, how would the world look like at that time?
That's a good question. This is a very philosophical question, and I've been thinking a lot about the bot, because the cars you can still imagine. Okay, there'll be cars, driverless cars. Instead of calling an Uber, you call your Tesla and picks you up, and you want to do something crazy, you get a Cybertruck, and if you want to go with the family, you get your Y or your X or whatever. So it's all good. Cars you can still phantom, but bots is a much bigger question. So if these bots are in factories, so does that mean we will have many more unemployed people? What do these unemployed people do? If these bots are as brilliant as I imagine they're going to be, output will be 4 or 5 times of what humans can do, right? Just by the simple fact that they work much longer hours, and they're much more, it can be much more efficient. So will this abundance that we're creating, because what we're actually doing is we're increasing the GDP, we're increasing the manufacturing locally in a competitive manner. So it also changes actually world dynamics. We're suddenly not in a dynamic anymore where you have a cheap worker in Asia and an expensive worker in Europe and in the United States. You have the same workforce at the same price everywhere that can work much more efficiently than any of them ever did, and at a comparable price. So suddenly you don't have these interdependencies anymore for which people fight wars. So this goes really very far, how this could shape the world. And that's why I think that wealth creation is so enormous of what's happening here.
That's true. Definitely beyond Earth. Definitely. So let's come back to today's world.
Yeah.
Gigafactories. We know there's one coming in Mexico. We know they're talking one in India, and a few other places. I think one in South Korea, one in Indonesia, and they're just all around the world. Where do you think the next? You said there's going to be another 3 more gigafactories. Mm-hmm. Where do you think those will be?
I've discussed actually with quite a lot of Indian people, because for India, you hear a lot of diverging opinions. You have people that tell you, well, India doesn't have a lot of expensive cars, doesn't have the power, the buying power to purchase. Then I have people that are on the grounds in India and tell me India is changing at a speed that nobody can even fathom. So there will be a need for Tesla cars, especially if this $25,000 car comes out. So I do believe India would be a shame not to get into India, just because it is such a huge market. India also has a lot of trade agreements with other countries around, where it would be of benefit having produced in India. So India for me is one of the three that is a given. I believe Indonesia is the second one for the same reasons. Different population, different trade agreements, but also cheap, well-educated labor. South Korea is for me a hot contender, but it is more complicated in labor laws. It is more, and I do believe I've looked a little bit at those trade agreements. It could become redundant, given that both Indonesia and India have good trade agreements with South Korea. So if the import from those two locations come to South Korea, that would be it. I have a completely outside bet that is out there. Sometimes I'm just saying stuff that is not as reason, which is Brazil.
No, that's fine.
Why do I
Yeah,
believe
Brazil.
Brazil? Well, because Brazil is obviously South America. Currently, it's very complicated. I mean, obviously, you can ship cars from everywhere, but it's far to go to get to Brazil. I do believe Brazil is an upcoming market. It has actually a very educated engineering population. Volkswagen had one of the biggest plants in Brazil for a very long time. So I do believe there is my joker. My number 3 is Brazil.
Wow. Yeah, no. I do believe that Brazil is one of them. But then I was thinking the other day that their cars don't run on gas; it runs on sugarcane. Still, the market is there for EVs, and the world's switching to EVs. But Brazil is one. I'm thinking for a geopolitical, strategic, because of China. Because now we're seeing a lot of companies de-risking from China. Indonesia is a very, very great place. That's always been one of my hot spots for Gigafactory being there. India is we can say I can definitely see one there. I can definitely see one in Dubai. It's so business friendly in Dubai. It's ridiculous.
But do they have the workforce for it?
Yeah, oh yeah. Look, here's the thing. All the, I guess you could say, workers that would do the construction, the cashiers, are either Filipinos or Indians. They're from abroad. 10% of the population in Dubai is Emiratis. The rest, 90%, are foreigners.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're the ones who's running the country. And have you been to Dubai, by the way?
No, but I have good friends who live there.
You have to go there for, don't go now. Right now it's like 60 degrees right there. It's ridiculous. You won't survive. But in the winter time, from November to like January, beautiful weather. It's an amazing experience when you see how futuristic this country is. It's unbelievable. And we have a few friends because we work with Dubai, we work with Qatar, we work with all these regions, and majority of their employees, they pay them like literally close to nothing. But for them, it's a lot of money because they go exchange it back to India or rupees or whatever, and it's like them making like what a teacher makes times 10 the amount of money they would make. So I'm not worried about shortage of labor or how expensive it is. I just know that Dubai is a very business friendly place to start a business. For example, here in Kuwait or any other Middle Eastern country, if you want to start a business, you have to, well, first of all, you can't buy the land. You're an expat. You can't do it. Secondly, you can't own the business. You have to have 51% of the owner to a sponsor. It's just how it is. But in Dubai, it's not like that. In Dubai, you can get your own land. You can be your own. You don't need no sponsor to own your own business. And Tesla is looking for this type of partnership with countries because they don't want a third company in the middle.
It would also be a middle finger to all the Gulf countries that are not opening up to Tesla, right? But I think Dubai will have its joker when they will have full self-drive as the first country being, authorized a robotaxi system. I just don't see it for manufacturing. Also for
Really?
proximity to exportation, it's gonna be a challenge from Dubai to reach other markets. A second joker, if I can bring one, would be North Africa.
You talk a lot about ESG, S&P ESG. I want to, I didn't know what the heck. I didn't even know that S&P ESG was even existed until they kicked out Tesla out of it for some stupid reason.
Last year in May, yes.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what is this ESG thing? Like, I've been in the stock for 10 years. I've never heard about this before. And then all I see is you on Twitter and on YouTube, on Farzad's channel and like on other channels, it's going crazy how terrible ESG is. So like, tell me about it.
Crazy I go. Okay, so I try to make this short because it's not short. And anybody who wants to have more, I have my little YouTube channel where I regroup all those. So ESG is ecological, social, and governance issues that became a theme after the 2008 financial crisis. The term ESG actually exists from early 2000s. I don't know which genius put those three themes under one topic, which was a real issue. And after the financial crisis, it has been used a lot for greenwashing and whitewashing of anything else. Now, to make it really short, because I think it's just too much of a subject, we've been already in an hour and a half, but the big issue is it has nothing to do with being ecological or whatever, because if not, obviously Tesla would be one of the front runners. It's all to do with political influence and the steering. So remember when I talked to you about the credit rating gravy train? Well, now there is an ESG rating train where they impose the criteria. If you're not in these criteria and pay, then you're not seen the way it should be. And since they manipulate everything that comes with it and in very detail, it's also now politically driven. Currently, it's the progressive side that has the hand on ESG. The big danger, the only thing I want you all to take away from this is they are trying to institutionalize ESG. It's now the politics that have taken this subject on, and they want financial reporting to be done with ESG criteria. So when you have earnings calls, if they win, when you have earnings calls, you will not only have the financials that we look at, you will also have ESG criteria. And these ESG criteria are manipulated, and these ESG criteria will be used and abused. And that's why I'm so much against it, because once you have this installed, there is no going back. So that's why I'm talking so much about it. They are trying very hard to get this now into the laws. The SEC is doing, like always, a crap job in trying to get anything more transparent or whatever. So just want to make sure this is a subject that nobody's interested, including me, but it's a danger, and it's a danger to Tesla, and it's a danger to actually lots of companies out there. Not saying that we shouldn't be careful with ecology and social governance issues, but just the way it's abused now is completely manipulated and not the right way to do it.